Taking out stitches is something that everyone has to do sooner or later as soon as they learn how to use a sewing machine. As a matter of fact, sometimes it seems like the more you know how to use it, the more stitches you end up having to take out. A lot of people use a seam ripper for that. My own personal preference is what's called a tailor's awl. Now, a tailor's awl is used in place of a seam ripper. A seam ripper, you will often find people opening up the seam and scooting the seam ripper down the inside of the seam to cut away those stitches. The biggest problem with that is you can end up doing a lot of damage to the fabric if you miss and slip. I also find that it's more difficult to control. Tailor's awl is this little gadget right here. They come in two styles. One has this taper on the end, on the blade, where this end is much wider than that end. That's called a tapered tailor's awl. The other one has a cylindrical shaft that's all the same diameter. Either way, they come down to a very fine point at the end. The tailor's awl has a lot of uses, one of which can be to pull fabric that's bunched up into the place that you want it. But in this case, I'm going to talk about taking out a seam. Here we have a row of stitches that I want to remove. With the tailor's awl, working on the flat side of the fabric, you slip the awl underneath a stitch, like so. With the tapered awl, you just push it through, like so, until it breaks. Then you move down a little bit farther, pick up another stitch, push it through until it breaks. Then you can pull that little piece of thread. You can pull that little piece of thread out of the fabric, and you have a gap on that side. When you turn the fabric over, you'll see that you have a loose but continuous thread on the other side. So what you do is you continue to move down the line, breaking the threads as you go, moving down, an inch or so at a time. Again, breaking the thread as you continue down. Once you get used to using it, this actually can go quite quickly. Sometimes you will jab the point into the fabric, but if you're careful, you can pick it up and release it, and it won't leave a mark. Then you can go through and you can pull these threads out like so. And you have a very long loose thread on the other side. Now the nice thing about this is then you can take that long thread and you can pull it and bunch the fabric up as you pull it through. You can bunch that fabric up until it breaks, straighten it out, and then you can pick up the thread on the other side, do the same thing, bunch the fabric up, and you can continue going down that way, removing the threads, and there's no damage at all to the fabric. Another way you can use the tailor's awl is to just pick up a little bit away from the end and pull the thread through that way. And again, go through, pick it up, pull the thread through, pick up a stitch, pull it through, and you are releasing the thread on the other side as well. There are times when you want to work inside the seam. So with a tailor's awl, you can stretch the seam a little bit like so, take the awl, go in, and work along like so. Once again, leaving no damage at all to the fabric that you're working with. And then when you get enough thread loosened up, you can once again take hold of the thread, pull it, bunching up the fabric, straighten it back out, come over, pick up the thread on the other side, pull it through, bunching that thread up until the thread breaks, straighten it out, and you can continue going down the row like that. And what you have is removing the seam, removing the stitching with absolutely no damage whatever to the fabric. It is an excellent, excellent way to work with very fine, thin, tight weave fabrics that are more difficult to use with the seam ripper. The tailor's awl. It's what I like to use to take out the stitches.